Snoop Dogg. You know I'm mobbing with the D.R.E. Yeah. You know who's back up in this.
Hello and welcome to the 16th edition of the Daily Iowans Pregame podcast. This is your host, Danny Payne, joined as always by Jordan Hansen and Charlie Green. You guys get to see our beautiful shining faces today. We're obviously all out of town. Well, Charlie and Jordan are actually in Iowa City, just in separate places.
I'm actually in the newsroom right now, so
yeah. So you get to take a look at our beautiful decorated sports cube right there.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. Just inside peek at the Daily Iowan offices. So we're obviously don't have class this week, so I headed home. Charlie and Jordan kind of drew the short end of the stick for this week's pregame, so they have to be the ones to had to cover Kirk tomorrow afternoon and things like that. But I'm doing everything remotely, which has been pretty nice this week, or for the day at least. So that's fun stuff.
Yeah, you're basically like a stay-at-home dad for the week.
Yeah, oh yeah. We moved some firewood today. Got my sweatpants on when I got my haircut.
Get stuff done, dude.
It's more than I've done today.
It is. I've realized in the last couple of weeks how easy it is for me to tip a person well. Like my hair, like when the girl was drying my hair, she was like, "Oh, your hair's taking a while." I was like, "Yeah, I don't like it. I guess it just takes a while to dry." It's like, "Oh, it's because it's so curly and thick and awesome." And I was like, "Oh yeah, boom, good tip right there." And the same, that's par for the course at bars and restaurants and other establishments around town. If you any compliment, and you're probably getting a few extra bucks. So.
A little bit goes a long way, man.
Yeah, that shows how superficial and great I am. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about Purdue, Iowa. Obviously, 40-20 winners. God, that was only 2 days ago. That seems like forever ago for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Probably just because the 11 o'clock kick. So I guess it was farther away than that was the first 11 o'clock start we've had since. When was the last 11 o'clock kick before that?
Oh God.
Wisconsin was 11 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Was Northwestern?
I think Northwestern was.
Yeah, Northwestern was.
So we're going back before the bye.
Yeah. So that was a while ago. It was nice. It was fantastic. We were done by we were out there by 5 o'clock, Charlie, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's the way to go.
11 o'clock games are the best if you're a journalist or covering the game in any respect.
Sadly, there will be no more of those this year. Iowa and Nebraska set to kick off at 2:30 p.m. I think is it on ABC? I think
on ABC, yeah.
ABC. So Jordan and I are making the drive out to Lincoln. We'll be at Memorial Stadium, so that'll be a good time. We'll get there in a little bit. But let's do takeaways from Purdue first, guys. What was the biggest thing that jumped out from Purdue for you too?
I think it was clearly an emotional day and day of celebration. By the time the game was done, concerns here and there kind of don't undermine it in my mind, but were definitely highlighted and clearly visible. Just the fact that there wasn't a lot of pressure on Austin Appleby, and a guy who had been Purdue's backup really came in and looked very good.
Very good.
I think because he felt comfortable, and he didn't really get stopped or knocked out of rhythm until the end of the game. Towards in the fourth quarter, he didn't play quite as well, but he's a guy that played really bad early in the season and put up some pretty good numbers against Iowa.
It's kind of interesting though. I was reading something on Pro Football Focus today about how good Iowa was, and they said that Nate Meyer and Jaleel Johnson were both plus defenders on the line, which I thought was kind of interesting.
In that game,
and just in general, it didn't really say which game, but I would agree. I didn't really see a lot of pressure either. I thought that the linebackers were okay. Like I thought everyone was okay, but nothing was really special. Like I remember when I was trying to do the 5 things that we learned from Purdue, I was kind of struggling because I really don't think there's much to take away, from that game. I mean, it was an undermanned opponent, and Iowa beat them, and that kind of was, for me at least, was just about that. That was that, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I mean, we knew going in that Purdue was just an awful team. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, 2 conference wins and however many, I think 2 conference wins in Darrell Hazel's tenure. Yeah. And
this is his 3rd year, and they've won twice in the Big Ten.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, you knew what you were coming into the game, but outside of all the, I mean, Charlie, like you said, all the senior day stuff was cool. Obviously, winning the Big Ten West, the celebration after the game, or at least the reaction from the celebration after the game, because they celebrated kind of privately in the locker room, which is, it is what it is, which is cool. It's a cool thing for this team, but at least what we got to see when guys came out of the locker room in for interviews afterwards, pretty emotional. Cole Fisher especially, I think Cole Fisher was the only one I saw that had at least a shred of a tear in his eye. Somebody said that Kirk was tearing up in the locker room after the game. So it sounded like it was a pretty cool moment. But it's as far as the actual game itself, obviously you probably would have liked to see Iowa put Purdue away and not let them hang around like they did kind of in the 3rd quarter. But I will say that Jordan Canzeri's touchdown run at the end is the key play of that game, because a 40-20 score as opposed to a 33-20 score against Purdue looks a whole hell of a lot better.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Is that 40-20? It looks like you beat them. And I think that was reflected in the AP and the coaches poll both. I mean, I moved up to number 3 in both of those, and I think it'll also reflect in the college football playoff poll tomorrow night.
It's troubling that, I mean, it's just not fun to see the huge leads built up and then those leads continuously close down to 1-possession games. Against teams that, I mean, Minnesota clearly is a better team than their record would show, but I don't think Purdue is one of those teams. And I don't think Maryland is one of those teams either. And you could say, Indiana's better than their record too, but same thing with them. So, I think that is a cause for a point of concern for sure. And there's just a lack, it seems like, of a defensive killer mentality at that stage in the game when they have, let's say, a comfortable lead. But there's still a lot of time left in the game. I think there needs to be, and I think pressure is the answer to that, honestly. It's a drive killer. It's a rhythm killer. This is a team that's built to win physically, and so if you can out-hit the other opponent, pressure is one way to do that, and if you can get to a quarterback, you just can throw his psyche off, along with rhythm and all those other things.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
I think the best teams in football at the top levels, so we're talking FBS and the NFL, are really built from the line out, with a few exceptions. And it's really like the core of a good defense to me is how being able to get pressure with the front 4 or with the front 4 or 5, depending on what defense you're running. But that just frees you so much in the back end, and wasn't really there against Purdue.
No, it wasn't. And I mean, Austin Appleby, say what you want about it. I think he was a 4-star recruit coming in, or if not 4-star, 3-star, pretty highly-ish touted guy coming in. Obviously hasn't worked out. Again, we don't cover Purdue. We don't watch a ton of Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
But Iowa made him look so much better than I think he actually was, or is, I guess. And that's concerning, especially on a day like that. Yeah, I mean, yes, the emotion can get the best of you, and I think Desmond said after the game that they lost focus for a little bit. But I mean, that's not good. I mean, it's just plain and simple. That can't happen against. I mean, Tommy Armstrong, another guy next week, not a great quarterback. There's some talent there, just like
he throws quite a bit.
Yeah.
He can put up numbers though, and he can, I think Nebraska. I think this is going to look a lot like the Indiana game. I mean, I don't really want to get into Nebraska quite yet, but I mean, I think, with what he's going to do, is going to look a lot like the Indiana game and how he could just put up numbers. I think he's going to throw a couple picks, but I also think he's going to throw a couple touchdowns too. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. But again, I guess the point that I was making, I think Iowa obviously made Armstrong a lot better than he actually was, and Appleby, excuse me. And I don't think you can let that happen again with Armstrong this year because this week, Nebraska is a more talented team than at least Purdue, probably more talented than Illinois.
Minnesota, maybe.
Minnesota, yeah, kind of toss up there in Indiana.
Nebraska lost to Purdue, but they beat Michigan State, so
yeah,
weird season for them.
Yeah, and I mean Nebraska could easily be a contender. Nebraska, they lost 4 games in the last the last minute of the game. So I mean, they're a dangerous team. They're not a team that you want to take lightly. But Charlie, like you're saying, I agree. The pass defense in particular, and the pass rush has to be a whole hell of a lot better than it has been in the last couple of weeks because they have had no pressure at all in the last few weeks.
And consistent pressure, I think, even if you're not getting to the quarterback, if you're making him uncomfortable, then that's going to go a long way because he's going to rush throws, he's going to make mistakes at some point, and if you make him comfortable, then he's just going to have all day in the world to let his receivers get into his routes and to make the right decision. And to me, Appleby looked very comfortable, and he's physically a good quarterback. He's got a strong arm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were watching him down on the field before the game, and
And,
good release.
Yeah, he was delivering the ball on the money to his receivers on the run, and so actually Nebraska leads the Big Ten in passing. So this is something that if you don't make Armstrong uncomfortable, he's a guy that can be forced into turnovers. He's got I think like 17 interceptions on the season. But if you give him time to throw, he could also make it a long day for you.
Well, but I think some of that is inflated a bit by the fact that I haven't looked at the stats, but I feel like Nebraska's rushing offense isn't nearly as good as what it has been in the past. I mean, obviously losing Amir Abdullah last year was huge, and I just don't think it's as balanced.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much of that is Mike Riley is like a change of philosophy. Maybe he wanted to pass more. Maybe that's just rushing just isn't an option for him this year. I'm not quite sure about that. I see the rush offense isn't bad. They rush.
I guess.
7.
Say it again, Jordan.
I said, I guess it's 6th in the league, 7th in conference-only games. So, I mean, I guess there is something there. I don't know. I do think this team's dangerous. I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's any disputing that. I mean, we know how much. Well, I didn't know this when I came to school, but from my perspective, the Iowa rivalry has got to be for Iowa fans at least. It's got to be Iowa State and then Nebraska. Jordan, you can maybe shed some light on that just from growing up around the program.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because until Nebraska joined the Big Ten, there really wasn't much of a rivalry between Iowa and Nebraska. I mean, they had played each other a couple times I believe in the 90s in Hayden Fry, they had some non-conference games a little bit, but then they stopped kind of playing, and Iowa and Nebraska fans were two different conferences, two different sides of the fence. But now that Nebraska's in the Big Ten, especially lately, the team, Nebraska fans don't like Iowa fans. Like, Nebraska fans are just like, Iowa is just the other school on the other side of the river, and Iowa fans are take offense to that. So that's why, like, even on Twitter already, there's people so much smack.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's just like this wasn't the case when Nebraska first joined because Nebraska held themselves up higher, and I think that when Sean Eichhorst said that last year when they were firing Bo Pelini that they didn't want to be Iowa, like that just fanned the flames, honestly. But that's just my perspective from.
It almost seems like, to me at least, outside of Iowa State, it seems like this game is to Iowa fans what Minnesota is, or what the Iowa game is to Minnesota fans.
I think it's a great comparison.
I don't understand where for me, coming to Iowa City for the first time I was in Iowa City was when I was a junior in high school, and I don't understand. I had never heard of like them hating each other before that, and then the same thing goes to Minnesota. Like the first time I went to Minnesota, everybody was like, "Oh, like Iowa." You would think that Iowa's like ISIS or something. It's ridiculous. I just don't understand where the hate comes from.
Well, Iowa and Nebraska are like probably competing in the corn industry pretty hard. So
yeah, are they?
They don't outcorn us. We're the corn people.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think Iowa's number one in corn production. They're number one in pork production, but I don't think they're number one in corn. Nebraska might actually be the top corn producing state.
Cause I thought it was Iowa. Well, if that changed recently, then when I was a tour guide, I lied to every single tour group that I ever had.
No, that's just I don't know that for sure. But
okay, all right. Well, I don't really care either way.
We don't know.
Iowa grows more soybeans, so got that going.
I'll look that up real quick while you guys continue. You can have some.
Continue to argue about it.
You can have your science time now while I'm looking this up if you want.
Hey, important biomass fuel comes from corn, ethanol, but it's not efficient from corn as it is from sugarcane. So it's not very economically feasible right now or cost effective. So. Well,
and it doesn't help that Iowa has massive amounts of like rebates basically on ethanol. If you put ethanol in your gas, it's way cheaper. It's one of the reasons why gas is so much cheaper here than it is in other places. But it's
I filled up when I was driving home yesterday, Sunday afternoon. It was 1.9.
It was like 1.99 in Marion.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Throwback to 1990, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen gas that
cool.
was like 3 years old.
Yeah, that's been a long time. Ethanol, man.
I remember the gas prices when I was 3 very well because I was driving it already.
What?
I was driving. I needed to fill up my big wheel.
Yeah, I've known people that have been driving since like they've been 8 or 9. I mean,
that's illegal.
Well, I'm not saying it's not illegal, but you know, you can get your learner's permit here when you're 14. You got to learn how to drive somehow.
I got mine.
Yeah.
I got mine when I was 15.
Well, I mean, like people check. Like, there's you go out on a gravel, even out in the highways. There's no highway patrolman or nothing. Like they're not. And you can drive through the field on your own property. You don't have.
This is what Iowa and Nebraska have in common. Dirt roads and stuff. Like we should be loving each other. There shouldn't be this hate.
There's really not that many dirt roads in Iowa. Actually, most of them are gravel.
Oh well, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's because the farmers get pissed about it, so they want.
I'm sure they
have. So they want dirt. This isn't the South.
I don't know, man. I didn't know the South had more dirt roads and Iowa had more gravel, but now I do. So, one thing I think about Nebraska.
What do you think about Nebraska?
I think that they are kind of the mark in the Big Ten that separates the upper echelon of the Big Ten from everybody else. I think that's what they've been since they came into the Big Ten. What was it, back in 2011? I think that was their first year.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad place to be.
But I feel that way because they always have a good record, but they have shown to get blown out by the better teams. And yes, Danny?
We got it. We got an answer. Sorry, that was actually a good point, and I'll let you go back to that.
All right, we'll get back to it, but
all right, give me what are your guys' guesses for top 4 corn producing states in the country?
In any order?
In order from top from 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, let's do this. Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois.
No, that's really wrong.
Wrong.
It's I would say Nebraska, Iowa, Indiana, Illinois.
Wrong. You're both wrong.
You said almost the same exact thing.
Yeah, but no, Kansas grows wheat.
I don't, dude. You can grow corn anywhere, can't you?
All right.
Wheat where?
These are 2012 numbers. So I mean, it could have changed in the last 3 years. But at the end of 2012, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Illinois.
Wow.
Minnesota. Okay.
I would have said Indiana. I don't know.
Yeah, Indiana's gross.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
besides.
But yeah, they probably don't have. They probably don't have good dirt there.
They have coal, don't they? I think they have coal.
Southern Indiana, yeah. Southern Illinois too.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie. Back to that point that you're making because that was good. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So Nebraska, since they came into the Big Ten off of that, their last really great year, I thought, with Ndamukong Suh, they almost beat Texas. They almost beat Texas and Colt McCoy that year. Remember, it was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
Like some sort of controversy at the end of that game too.
Probably. And Ndamukong Suh probably like stomped on Colt McCoy's face.
Yeah.
Something. But they got kind of branded as like the Big Ten's new like powerhouse.
Right.
And, that was Russell Wilson's first year, and that was like their first big game, and Wisconsin just blew them out. And they had also, in the 5 years since, I found that most of the games they play against, like the Wisconsins, the Michigan States, and the Ohio States, are just blowouts in the wrong way for the Cornhuskers. But they always finish close to the top of the standings, meaning that they beat the lower guys up pretty badly until they get ranked like number 17, and then they play Michigan State and lose like 45-10.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you had the 2012 game when Wisconsin hung 70 on them.
Right, in the
Big Ten
Big
title game. Yeah.
And then you had last year when Melvin Gordon ran for like 400 and whatever yards.
Yeah. And,
So, to be fair to Nebraska, they beat Michigan State this year, and that looks like a great win now with Michigan State beating.
oh, yeah.
So, but this year's kind of an anomaly. I guess I'm more speaking to Bo Pelini's time of.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, ultimately what we've talked about before. I don't know if we've talked about it publicly or not, but
this is
why Pelini got canned. Because,
right, exactly.
And because Sean I, of course, didn't like him. But
okay, let me throw you out a question here. Where do you think this Nebraska team is going to be at next year? At this time?
Armstrong's a junior, right?
No, he's a senior. I
He's a
think.
senior? I think he's a junior.
I think he's a senior.
This can be easily settled.
Sure can.
Isn't Westerkamp a senior? And isn't he injured too?
Westerkamp is a senior. I don't know if he's injured. He did not take a red shirt. Westerkamp never redshirted.
He's a junior. Armstrong is a junior.
Wait, so is Westerkamp a junior too?
Let me check.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think Westerkamp redshirted.
I think Westerkamp is a senior.
I think he played his freshman year. His true freshman year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He's a junior.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, shows how much I know.
Yeah, well.
Anyway.
Rocking quite a mustache these days. If this is a recent picture, I'm pretty impressed.
Westerkamp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a great picture, though.
Hey, Dan, you want to tell us your feelings about Westerkamp?
Sure don't. Nope. Sure do not.
I'm sending him this podcast if you do.
No. Yeah, I'm sure he really cares.
Think he'd listen?
Nope. Sure. Nope. I do not think he would.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled about what I just said about Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's warranted.
No, I feel full-heartedly that way about Nebraska, and it to me they're sort of phony because they beat up on the Big Ten is always a little bit top heavy, and there's some bad teams in the Big Ten, especially in the last 5 years, and Nebraska both those guys and then just gets embarrassed. Usually,
I mean, yeah, it's them and Georgia are the same
right.
way.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, except I feel Georgia, will come within 20 points of Nebraska. No, not.
Georgia has a bit better recruiting than what Nebraska does too. Nebraska's recruiting has really fallen off after the '90s and those heydays, and I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why Nebraska's kind of not. I won't say struggled, but hasn't got back to that elite level. Is that simply I just think the recruiting's just gone downhill.
Well, I mean, Wisconsin and Iowa don't recruit. If you're looking at rivals and stuff, Wisconsin and Iowa's recruiting is.
Well, that's because I think Wisconsin, Iowa are more developmental programs. Because I mean, Wisconsin brings in good recruits, but I still think Wisconsin develops its players really well, and I just don't think Nebraska develops its players very well. Because Tommy Armstrong really hasn't developed, since his freshman year, sophomore year as a quarterback, and he really hasn't, gone, that far up. Because I remember him saying at media days that he was going to try to get his completion percentage into the upper 60s, and without looking, I don't think
that's a lofty goal for anyone, let alone Armstrong.
Mike Riley's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer kind of thing, so I don't know.
Yeah, all those legendary quarterbacks that he coached at Oregon State. There were some pretty good ones.
Sean Mannion.
Yeah. So.
He threw for 700 yards one time. It's impressive.
Well.
All right. Anything else that we have to say before we move into Twitter questions, which are all about Nebraska? Anything else you want to make sure we get in there?
Never impressed with Nebraska ever. I just can't think of anything that I've ever been impressed. Like
boring state.
Football or basketball. When have they ever been good at basketball?
They were supposed to be good that one year.
They had one good player last year, didn't they? What was his name?
Taryn.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Taryn. Yeah, they were.
No,
nice arena though.
Fell off last year. Like they were supposed to be a Sweet 16 kind of looking team.
Yeah, oh yeah. Everybody was all high on Nebraska ball and Timmy Miles. Tim Miles and what a guy. He is good stuff.
Is that the dude that tweets at halftime?
Oh, sure is. Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Anyways, all right.
Yeah, so one last thing in Nebraska. They're going to make CJ throw. Because Nebraska's pass defense is probably worse in the Big Ten. So
yeah,
just know that.
So we'll see. CJ hasn't been great. The one thing that I'll be looking for is deep balls because Jordan, you tweeted it, and I think we've all noticed that CJ has not been hitting those deep balls lately.
Nope.
Not. When was the last deep pass he hit that wasn't it? He obviously he's had longer touchdown passes just by way of catch and runs.
I don't know when the last one.
Illinois, Germanic Smith. He had 2 40-yard passes to Germanic Smith against Illinois, and I think that's the last time Iowa's had a 40-plus yard passing play.
When was what game was it when Germanic Smith just didn't turn around for the ball? That was a perfectly thrown ball. What game was that? It's coming down. It was at Kinnick. He was coming down the near sideline.
It wasn't. I don't think it was
Maryland.
I think it was Maryland. That sounds right.
Yeah. That's the last well-thrown deep ball I can think of him having.
Well, I think that he kind of struggles with a little bit with touch. He likes to throw right, and so when you throw deep, it's just better to get some projection on the ball. I also think he's being a little cautious, honestly, making sure he doesn't underthrow that, so a defender can.
Right, which is fair. There's no reason. It's worked out fine, obviously, with him not converting those, but.
One question for you. Do you think it's a problem that they're so dependent on play action?
No.
He completed 12 passes, and how many of those were off the play action? I just don't know if that's a sustainable type, especially if the run game isn't there. I don't know.
I don't think the run game is going to go anywhere, honestly. Watching them run against Nebraska, watching them run against Minnesota, I just don't think that run game is really going to go anywhere. Because, you think about it.
But I think that CJ, the offense depends on these deceptive play-action, naked bootlegs. We saw a bunch of them against Purdue. And also CJ just taking off. Things at the first sight of the possibility of something breaking down, CJ likes to get out and either take off or try to make something happen outside the pocket. And I think that's going to be a problem against more athletic defenses that can contain him. You know what I mean? And that can play better against the run. So I think, and he still is taking shots when he stands back in the pocket.
Yeah. I mean, health-wise, I think he's fine.
He looks good. Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to see your quarterback taking a bunch of shots ever, but I don't know. That's a good question. I think we'll find out.
I think at least like Pittsburgh, he consistently showed in Pittsburgh that he can hang back there because they threw a lot in that game because the run game was.
I mean, I don't know if. I think I guess this is logical, but I think the play action's been so effective just because it's allowed the receivers to get separation, because we haven't seen them get separation on their own really all year.
That's true. Those sort of because they get a chance to sort of delay, and they're all very good at that, to their credit.
Well, and I think the other big thing is the emergence of. I mean, we've been seeing it all year, but especially lately. Henry Krieger-Coble and George Kittle, consistently beating linebackers. If the linebackers even move up a little bit to sell out the run, or to stop the run, I should say, CJ is just making them pay for it. He annihilated Purdue's linebackers.
Oh, it's working. It's working. Yeah, I mean, Hazel talked about that. Me and Danny listened to him talk a little bit after the game, and he talked about how they were, they knew that they were going to have to commit to the run, and basically accepting the fact that it was a possibility that they were going to be a little bit vulnerable to that sort of offense. But Kittle and Krieger-Coble, they just make it look easy. I think they've done it a lot at this point. They've been asked to kind of not carry a huge weight on the offense, but they've been asked to make big plays in some big times. And I think right now they're in a good spot to. I mean, they're just so important to the offense for like I wrote after the game. 6 catches between them, 4 first downs, and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Making the most out of your touches, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I guess one thing, I would have to look back at the numbers to know specifics, but it's not necessarily something new. I mean, Doozy was, in my opinion, Iowa's best receiver last year.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Most reliable.
It's amazing that you would have seen this without Doozy.
No.
I mean, we haven't even seen Doozy play.
He's been blocked. He's blocked. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't. Yeah, they have. He doesn't have to catch.
And I mean, kind of like what Kirk was saying at that, I don't know, his last press conference or whatever, but, Doozy's just not, completely confident coming back yet. And I mean, from personally, I remember, like, when I had my MCL tear and broke my arm, like, people, it's hard to come back. I mean, like, yeah, like it's hard to come back from stuff. It's hard to have that confidence again.
Yeah,
I understand. It's kind of dumb to say that like that because I'm not anywhere, close.
No, I understand. I think it would be once you get hit in performance and you hurt yourself bad, it'd be hard to step back out on the field. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening at least a little bit to Jake. I really, really do.
Hey, I was just laughing because for a second I thought you were gonna draw a parallel to your athletic career.
No,
God no. No, I just know the feeling.
Jake Doozy reminds me a lot of myself back in
It's like it's the Derrick Rose problem.
Right,
yeah.
That's
Let's not get into that. I apologize for bringing that up. All right, Twitter. So, Jimmy, we'll do you a solid here just because you tweet in every week. Jimmy just wants us to remind the listeners that before they were called the Cornhuskers, they were called the Bug Eaters. Important historical note. I have no idea if that's true or not. I didn't look it up before this. I probably should have.
Let me check that real quick. I'll be our guy.
Anyways, so that's that. All right, 2 of them. We'll keep on the Jimmy train, and then we'll get to Kinnick's Corner.
Wow, they were. It looks like.
Well, there you go. The Nebraska Bug Eaters.
They were also known as the Old Gold Knights, the Antelopes, the Rattlesnake Boys, and then it looks like the Bug Eaters.
Jesus. Describe or just make a decision. My God.
Are there even antelopes in Nebraska? Like, Why would you even come up with that?
I mean, the white man might have killed him.
Yeah, there probably were until Columbus and
It's kind of funny though, because Grand Canyon.
Columbus and Obama killed all the antelopes. No, but they look at their name now. It's the Cornhuskers. Like,
I mean, that makes sense.
Oh, it is. It does. But I mean, if somebody pitched that to you as a name for like your school, I would be like, we can think of a cooler name than Cornhuskers. I mean, right? I mean, but you can see they're improving because they've gone from the Rattlesnake Boys to the Corn. And then who knows? Maybe in 10 years they'll be like, I don't know. You guys just want to be like the Tigers or something.
Rattlesnake Boys is.
It sounds like a motorcycle gang or something.
I don't know what it sounds like, but it doesn't sound good. All right. Anyways, on to Jimmy's actual question.
That was all before 1900.
Before when?
Before 1900, I guess.
Okay. All right. They didn't know what they were doing.
They
didn't know what they were doing back then. But anyways, all right. Jimmy asks, Nebraska game from a year ago still haunts this team. Not sure if I agree with that. But Jimmy's saying that it does. Do we anticipate another overtime game in Lincoln?
No, I don't think so. I
don't.
I can see overtime. I mean,
yeah, you can see it, can you?
I can.
Right.
I'm not going to call it, but I think that these games are always close, and it's going to be a little bit. Well, you guys know what the weather is going to be like for this game?
I don't think there's supposed to be any precipitation, but I think it's
no weather at all.
No, none.
just no weather.
Okay. Well, then that changes things for sure. But no, I think that if it's a little bit colder, it's going to be a closer game because I think both these teams are pretty. Both programs pride themselves on the, physical, typical Big Ten style of football. I mean, I don't know Mike Riley, like I said, from a philosophical standpoint, what he believes in as a coach, but I'm pretty sure he believes in the same sort of grinded out type of attack. Yeah, I think it'll be a close game, so I would not be surprised at all if we saw overtime again.
Man,
I just don't. For whatever reason, I just don't see this game as close.
Really?
Either way, I don't see it as close. I see it as a 10-point game either way. Just I don't really have much of a foundational basis for that, like anything concrete. It's just kind of a gut feeling.
Yeah,
they've been close in the past, and I mean, I think Iowa's kept some games close this year that they were clearly a better team. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Fair.
I think it's hard to read this Nebraska team, isn't it? I mean, they play pretty well most of the time. They don't do well late, but then they play pretty well for the most part, and then they lose to Purdue. And then, oh, God, all right, well, maybe Mike Riley wasn't the right guy. Then they beat Michigan State. And, so it's like, what am I supposed to think about this team? I think they'll give Iowa a good game. That's all I can really – I'm like you. I don't really know, I just don't complete. Tommy Armstrong could throw 4 interceptions. He could throw 4 touchdowns,
Or he could throw both.
Yeah, exactly. So, which wouldn't be – based on the type of season Nebraska's had, could happen.
Yeah.
Just nothing's out of the cards.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go to overtime, but I do know that last year's game almost didn't go to overtime. Brandon Scherf returns that for a touchdown. It's a completely different feeling going into this season for Iowa, I think. I'm serious. I think that play was just a huge swing play that could have...
That would have just made the world explode. Oh, God, that would have been so cool. Like, just to see the reaction from that on both sides. That would have been unbelievable.
I wanted because I was stringing for that game, and I was in Pelini's presser, and I wanted Pelini to blow up so bad. I wanted it to happen. I wanted him just to go thermonuclear, and I think that would have been hilarious, but alas, did not.
crazy diction that you're using over there.
I'm not following you anymore, man.
Thermonuclear and elast. Jesus Christ.
It's too much.
All
Oh,
right.
I have classes this week, and you're hitting me with these big words.
Yeah.
You played too much Fallout. I'm sorry.
That's it. That explains it. How is it, by the way? Just one quick A or B, C. Give me your quick grade, and we'll move on.
A.
A.
A. Yeah, it's a good game.
All right, move that aside. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, you can talk. You guys can talk about that together.
We're nerds. We're dorks, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Kinnick's Corner, at Kinnick's Corner with a K, asks, this is kind of, I mean, obviously, he makes a good point. How can Husker fans complain about scheduling when A, it's cynical, and that made me laugh, and B, they're coming off a bye, and Iowa is coming off of short rest? So do you think Nebraska fans complaining about scheduling is warranted? Is, I guess, the simple way to.
Are they complaining about our schedule?
I don't know if they're complaining about their schedule or about Iowa's schedule. I have no idea.
Seems like a lot of people are complaining about Iowa's schedule right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like to hate things.
Yeah.
15's a very cynical place.
I saw an interesting stat that Iowa, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin, and Northwestern's losses have come to teams that are combined 87 and 7 or 87 and 9. So I mean, I think the strength of schedule argument for Iowa at least is a little bit overblown.
Well, wait a second. Their losses?
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of games. 87 and doesn't that sound like a ridiculous amount of games? I mean, they haven't lost to that many teams.
No, the team. But you think about it,
well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes.
Like the combined record of teams that they've lost to.
Yeah.
They haven't lost. Wow. I guess we're getting late in the season then. That seems like a.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1 week left in the regular season.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about it. Pittsburgh's lost to North Carolina and Notre Dame and Iowa, so that's 30 wins right there. That's almost 30 wins.
That's good. Yeah. Okay.
Think about Nebraska's lost to Purdue and or not Nebraska. I'm losing my train of thought here. Wisconsin's lost to Alabama, Iowa, and Northwestern, and Northwestern's lost to Iowa.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think that record only means so much in college football. That's the unfortunate truth. That's why you don't get into bowl games based on your record, because you just can't possibly know. You can't really know for sure which two Power 5 teams that are both 8-0, which one's better than the other if they haven't played each other. I mean, you can make your decisions and your opinions based on common opponents and strength of schedule, but you don't know for sure. So I think wins and losses, it's just complicated just to look at that. I mean, none of those teams have really played that tough of a schedule. I mean, Northwestern played Stanford, and Wisconsin played Alabama. And then Pittsburgh had North Carolina and Notre Dame. And North Carolina, I think they lost, didn't they? Did they just lose, or did they win?
They won. North Carolina only has one loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You're thinking North Carolina basketball.
That's it, yeah. Shout out to you and I, by the way.
Yeah, way to
Wes
go.
Washburn.
Yeah. Don't you know all about it with those primetime guys?
Oh, I know all about Wes Washburn.
Yeah. Jeremy Morgan.
Yep. Yeah, I do. I know them all too well, you might say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Seth Tuttle graduated.
No, I said, did he end up in the NBA, or is he
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't think so. No. I mean, I didn't see his name called in the second round of the NBA draft, so.
He's not first round talent in your eyes?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a scout, but I never heard his name mentioned with.
It was a joke.
He was a lottery pick.
When you were covering the draft, waiting to write that story.
No, I did actually talk to White. Not that night, but I did a Q&A with him after that.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to spend too much time talking to the media that night.
No, yeah, Dev Marble did like a quick like 7 or 8 minute conference call, and that was it.
I think that's what White did too. I must have just like messed it up somehow.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the summer. If there's a time to mess there's a time to mess things up, it's in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's the truth. But no, I think I mean I think those are good teams, but they haven't played. They haven't gone through the type of gauntlet of schedule that you might see in the SEC. Week in and week out playing big games.
Hold up. The SEC East
Oh my god.
is awful. Don't even. SEC East is just bad. It's just bad. SEC West is fine, but SEC East is just not good.
Well, I mean, obviously the West is pretty much always the best conference in football, or the best division of a conference in football.
Right, but the best team in the SEC West is Florida, who FAU put in overtime and almost lost to Vanderbilt.
Well, it's hard to read. I mean, it's hard to read. It's hard to predict those games. Who knows? I mean, look, it's at some point you can't avoid it being an arbitrary process. There's no formula for picking which team should be the top 4 teams in the country. The only way I can think to fix this problem is to expand the playoffs, to play off to 8 teams, and then you shouldn't be allowed to play an FCS team. That's a waste of a week of football. They're student athletes, so you can't make the season that much longer, and you shouldn't do that. But you should take away Iowa has no business playing North Texas and Illinois State. And you could be making better use of that time because it's valuable time, Let's expand the playoff so more teams get in. 4 teams. I'm a 14 playoff. That's lame.
Yeah.
It's lame.
I don't know if you go to 8 right away. I think you might be able to do 6 right away.
I prefer 16. That's what I would prefer. I just don't know right now. A 16-team playoff would be, because there's so many teams in college football. I mean, that would be ideal. That'd be, if you think about it in the NFL, there are 32 teams, and 12 teams make the playoffs, and so I think that's a good ratio right there. So ideally, it would be a little bit more,
Dave and I were talking about this the other day. He said what he thinks will happen in 20 years. I mean, this is assuming football is still around in 20 years. But in 20 years, he thinks there will be Power 4 conferences. But it'll just be just realignment into 4 power conferences.
Yeah, 4 super conferences, right?
Yeah, kind of like they do in hockey and in the NBA. 4 super conferences. You play a semifinal and a final amongst your conference, and then the winners of that play in the playoff.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good way to go. I honestly wouldn't,
No, I think, and I agree with them. I think it'll eventually go that way, but it'll just take time because there's too much money. I mean, there's too much. The Big 12 is not going to be around for a long time. There's too much money. There's too much money in the Power 5 right now, but eventually it'll go to 4.
I mean, Texas could just have its own conference, but of all Texas schools, I'm just.
Yeah, well, it could have 5 or 6. Yeah, a very small conference, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll just be a regional. I think they'll just call. I don't know what they'll call the one in the East. They'll call the Midwest one the Big 10. Maybe keep them. Yeah.
The ACC and then.
The ACC.
Yeah, I don't know what the name. I mean, that's.
Notre Dame should just be in the Big 10. Come on, like.
I think they'll be forced to eventually.
Let's just make this make sense, right? They're in South Bend, Indiana.
There's just so much money wrapped up in everything, and Notre Dame Notre Dame's genius. There's a reason they don't want to join it. They can play whoever they want.
Mm-hmm.
They have an awesome TV deal with NBC.
Huge fan base and a huge city.
I haven't seen any games on NBC though, like Notre Dame games on NBC though this year. You noticed that? Like,
no, I haven't noticed, but I haven't seen any either.
I don't think I've watched a Notre Dame game this year, so.
I mean, there's definitely been a couple, but I feel like Notre Dame's been on some other networks other than just NBC.
Yeah, I mean, there are rules. It depends on if I'm sure it depends on if they're home or away.
Yeah.
NBC used to rule,
I didn't think about that.
but I
It
mean,
probably depends on opponent too.
the NCAA. I'm sure. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if the NCAA has the same right as the NFL, where they can bump a game up to prime time and cross it over to another network. Because the NFL has the power to do that after a certain point in the season.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. That's why. Yeah, they can flex.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Football is always the most viewed. I mean, it's consistently the most viewed event in all of television in America. Like weekly, it just dominates. So the best game of the week, they want to maximize that potential. So
Hey, wait, there's the first good Monday night game of the year tonight. Pats and Bills.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, God,
Well, actually
football.
should be actually a game that is sufferable to watch on Monday night.
For once.
Yeah, Monday and Thursday night games this year have just been awful.
God, so bad.
All right, we're going. This is a long podcast, isn't it?
We're at 51 minutes. Yeah.
Yes. All right, we've already shattered the record. Then we still have two more segments to do. Charlie, let's jump into pregame for this week. Pregame this week, just a quick programming note. You guys can read all the stories online as usual. Pretty much the only change is we won't be publishing it. We will have the online PDF version. So if you want the PDF of the publication itself, that'll be online, or you can just read the text of the stories, whatever you want. But that'll all be online at daily-iowan.com/pregame and daily-iowan.com. So go ahead, be sure to check that out. It's coming out Thursday, I believe. It'll be out before the game. We'll just check. We're having regular content online this week. I need to iron out those details. I didn't even think about that when stories are going up online. But anyways, so yeah, go ahead. Be sure to check that out, you guys. Print it out if you want. Bring it to Lincoln. So yeah, Charlie, go ahead. You have the cover story this week. What do you got?
Okay, so what I'm working on right now is my story on Austin Blythe, a guy who's started since 2012, his redshirt freshman year, and just how he's shaped, the way he plays on the field is shaped by his upbringing, his athletic and personal background, and how it makes him fit for a unique spot like the center. Also, how that kind of goes along with how he's viewed as a professional prospect, the things that are said about him, and especially by scouts, both for his seemingly strong, very strong off-the-field character versus athletic ability and on football IQ and stuff like that. So it's basically an all-encompassing profile on Austin Blythe as he winds down his pretty prolific and possibly underappreciated Iowa career. I mean, like I said, he's been starting since his redshirt freshman season, so on an Iowa offensive line. So you guys want to check that out on Thursday or Friday? Apparently we're not quite sure yet, but
At some point during the week.
I'll tweet it out, and DI Pregame will tweet it out, so keep your eyes on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so cool. Thanks for that. Charlie, do you have on the line pulled up? Do you want to moderate it, or do you want me to do it?
I can get it up real quick. That sounded really dirty, but it didn't have to until I said it.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It didn't until you said it.
Yeah, it's just gone places.
It was there. I just couldn't. All right, I'll avoid that next time. But let's jump into it with Iowa and Nebraska. What are you guys thinking?
Iowa haven't picked against them this year. Not gonna start for this game. So Iowa.
Agreed. Iowa. They haven't steered me wrong yet, so I can't not pick them.
I don't know yet. No, that's a cop out. I do need to gain a game back though, so I'm really considering taking Nebraska.
That would be the third time this year that Jordan picks against Iowa for those scoring at home.
I think it's good luck when you pick against Iowa. So
yeah, it's good luck for the Hawkeyes. So go ahead. a quick note: Ryan is in the lead. Pat and Ryan and I had a 3-way tie. Pat and I dropped a game, so Ryan's one up on us two. And then I don't know what I don't care about you underlings. You're irrelevant to me and my pursuit of a case of beer from Brooks, who's probably going to come in last.
Jordan, though, owes me a case of beer for the Vikings losing to the Packers.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Next pick.
We're getting through this without bringing up the Packers-Vikings game.
Yeah, I'm being nice right now. I'm moving on to Baylor TCU. What do you guys got?
Disclaimer, I hate this game. I just picked it because there's going to be parity in it. I think there'll be discrepancy between all of our picks. I think TCU's got. I think I'm going to go with TCU.
Okay. Jordan?
Well, I said Baylor.
I will go Baylor as well. Sorry, I didn't hear you. I'll go Baylor as well, and throw in the little bit that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Big 12, but
No one does.
yeah. So I mean,
Don't let anybody fool you and tell you that they do.
I try to ignore most people who claim that they do. But Navy and Houston, this is an interesting game to me. What do you guys think about this one?
Jordan,
I'll take
what do you got?
Houston just lost. Didn't look very good in the loss. I'll take Navy.
Yeah, Navy's on my train. Two of my cousins go to Navy, so if nothing else, that's why I'm taking them.
Well, in honor of their service, I will take Navy as well because I don't know. It's hard to these games. First it was Memphis and then Houston. Now Navy is looking like the hot new Kardashian. So I'm gonna get on Navy's bandwagon too. Notre Dame, Stanford.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame just lost their starting corner, and the rest of their team's like done for too still. So I'm gonna take Stanford. I think Kevin Hogan throws for a couple touchdowns. Did not think Notre Dame looked very good against Boston College at all.
Yeah, I think I'll take Stanford too. Christian McCaffrey has been a game changer. One of a really guy, undervalued. Never gets talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Heisman. So I think that Notre Dame is due for another loss, just based on all the injuries, and I think that it's going to shake up the next week's poll, not the one that comes out.
Oh, God.
tomorrow night, but I don't think Notre Dame is a top 4 team. I just don't.
I think the committee is going to do everything they can to make them a top 4 team.
True, I know. I think they deserve the spot for now.
Yeah, fair.
I don't see them ending the season.
I just think it'd be hilarious if the Big 12 gets left out again. I think it'd be completely hilarious.
Hey, I mean,
it would expedite our Power 4 conferences.
I think the committee made it clear to them last year that you're at a serious disadvantage if you don't have a conference championship game. And what do they do?
Why do you not want it? I don't understand why they don't want a conference championship game.
Just more money for everyone involved.
It's good. It is good for all parties involved.
Yeah. I mean, I think they said you're behind the curve. The Big 12 is like the Russia of Power 5 conferences. They're just behind everybody else by like 100 years. They just got like iPods last week. But no, I mean, like they basically told them, the committee did, there's a good chance, unless you have an undefeated juggernaut of a team, that you're not going to get a team in here unless they prove that they can win in a conference championship game. And I think that's going to happen again this year, and then they're going to add one. Personally.
They should. I mean, think
One-true
of how much money there is.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob Bowlesby, what are you doing? He said I think he said earlier this year there were no plans to have one. Why? You get a clear champion. You can play it in Dallas at Jerry World and cha-ching, cha-ching.
Hey, if there's one thing that can change that type of thing in America and in sports too, it's money. So I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
We'll wake up and smell the
missed profit.
yeah. Never sent money.
Used to have a before Nebraska left and everything. Did the Big 12 used to have a conference championship game? I think they did.
You know that was Ndamukong Suh, Colt McCoy. thing was? Was that a conference championship game?
I think it was. I really think that the Big 12 used to have a conference championship.
I'll look this up real quick. Do you want to give me your pick for Oklahoma State while I'm looking this up?
Oh,
Didn't we kick? Hold on, we kicked one of these out. You're on the wrong one. We kicked Baylor TCU out. That is not a game this week.
No, we didn't. We kicked Navy Houston out.
No, we didn't. I sent it again.
Oh,
Yeah, we did round 3.
oh, okay.
So I apologize. So that Baylor TCU picks out of there. But we do have Oklahoma State. So what do you got? What Oklahoma State? What do we got in Bedlam?
Oh, Oklahoma, absolutely. No, they did.
I would love for Oklahoma State to win. I think it'd be hilarious. But I'm gonna take Oklahoma.
I'll take Oklahoma. I mean, I think they're the closest thing to like a really good team that the Big 12 has that I can read at all. Like they've looked good lately. I don't know what that Texas game was, but
Baker Mayfield is injured though, so that might end up being pretty big. Like Oklahoma State and Oklahoma both got really beat up last week. So did Baylor too. Like all 3 of those teams got just annihilated with injuries last week.
okay. So yeah, wait. Big 12 used to have a conference championship game. Yeah. Then that was that Colt McCoy and Dominican Sue game was in 2009. That was the second last one, and then the last one was Oklahoma beat Nebraska 23-20. That was in 2010. So there you go. They should go back.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Go back in time.
Okay. So the last game on there, it was Ohio State and Michigan then.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the last one on there.
There you go.
My pick is but we don't need to ask my pick.
Can I still ask? I want to hear you say it.
Buckeyes, baby.
All right.
Now Zeke's not winning the Heisman anymore, which sucks. But
Zeke said some things, didn't he?
I have no problem with what he said.
I mean, I don't either. I'm just saying you just don't see it a whole lot.
I know. It was refreshing. It was just a terrible game plan from Ohio State.
It's interesting that you can have like the consensus best team in the country with the best talent and still, find a way to not make it all work out. I mean, I think you see that fairly often in sports.
Should have stuck with Cardale. Should have just stuck with Cardale the entire time.
No.
You should have
You
should have stuck with Barrett from the get-go.
And maybe Braxton Miller is the answer. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
Barrett didn't look good against Michigan State.
Nobody.
Ohio State's
Every single facet of that team didn't look good against Michigan State.
defense was okay.
Yeah, defense. Front 7 got beat on defense. Bosa was not doing much.
Oh, this is a tough one for me.
That game.
I'm gonna go with Ohio State. I think that I don't think Michigan is there from a personnel standpoint. I don't think they quite have the talent, and the Buckeyes hopefully can rebound from all the drama and stuff. And sometimes that can be a distraction. And, if they have to win this game because they don't control their own destiny, but they have to win. That's all they can do at this point. So Urban Meyer's a good enough coach. I think he'll rally the troops.
Yeah.
I'll take. I'm really tempted to take Michigan here, but I think I'm gonna
do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how Jake Rudock's gonna hold up against a pretty good Ohio State defense, because I really don't think that Michigan's really played that good of defense yet. So.
Really? Michigan?
I don't know. I haven't looked off.
I think they have the defense in the third best scoring defense in the Big Ten.
No. I said Jake Rudock hasn't gone against a
good defense.
Like gone against an opposing really good defense yet. I don't think we've really seen him have to be forced into making tons of plays. Though I guess the argument against that would be that Indiana game where he basically won that game too. So yeah, all right, whatever. I'll take Michigan.
All right.
We got him.
Yeah, there you go. Way to show some gumption there, Jordan. quickly, I guess, one more prediction. I don't want to talk about this for too long because we need to wrap this up. Does Ohio State play Michigan State or someone else? Or does Iowa, play Michigan State or someone else in the Big Ten title game?
Michigan State.
Michigan State, yeah.
Yeah,
they'll take this.
Yeah, I don't think Michigan State will blow it at this point. Anyways,
it's good.
Cool. Any parting thoughts from you guys?
I was 2 games away from a college football playoff berth. That's weird to say.
I was one of 2 undefeated teams in the United States of America, so.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
We are, Jordan, I think we picked a good year to cover Iowa football.
I think we did too.
Yeah. So you got that going. I have the biggest turnaround in program history. So, so we got that.
Some credit, man. Give yourself some credit.
It's all me.
I don't think they could have made it. I don't think they could have done it without you.
Yeah, Kirk should pay me some of that nice deal he has. That'll never happen. Okay. All right. So we'll wrap that up for this. That'll be it for this week. Thank you guys for listening. Long one. I'm very impressed if you're listening to this. It means you pretty much have a long drive, or you're just thoroughly enjoying doing absolutely nothing over Thanksgiving break. Which and both of those are fantastic. Anyways, so yeah, we will have pregame out at some point this week. We'll tweet that out or put that in the description of this to clarify. Once I get that all straightened out. Not in print. You can read it online, however, at daily-iowan.com/pregame or just daily-iowan.com. If you just want the text of the stories. So yeah, last regular season game, Jordan and I and our whole crew will be out in Lincoln, and then after that, it's off to Indianapolis. So yeah, got that going. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Enjoy all of your turkey and other stuff. Parting words, I guess, before Kyle gets to the song. Guys, favorite side, what do you got?
Yeah.
Stuffing, my man.
Stuffing.
Without
I don't know. I've never listened to Rick Ross that much.
No, your favorite side. Jesus.
Oh, my favorite I was like, my favorite side? Stuffing. That's not even a question.
Mashed potatoes is the answer.
It's a good answer. It's not the right one, but it's a good one. I'll accept it.
You have to put the gravy on the stuffing, though, in order for it to be like...
Of course, Jordan, we know that.
Well, I will clarify.
1, go listen to Rick Ross. 2, don't act like we don't know our sides, because we know to put gravy on absolutely everything that touches the plate.
Some people don't.
Those people are communists, my friend. Work for those people.
Yeah. Really, you're tossing around Russia a lot today. Anyways, all right, so that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Kyle, take her home.
Swerving in my low, head on a swivel, you know serving me's a no-no. Clean as a whistle as I pull out in my Rolls Royce. Yellow bone passenger, they see it, they say, oh boy. Tell Cali, back it up, my call me loco. Down for armed trafficking, don't make me pull up. Ask you what you laughing at, represent that mud life. Dirty money, better get your mud right. We come together holding hands and holler hood life. We all strapping all black, it's like,